Okay, before I start this video, I just want to say that there's going to be some spoilers in here about The Last of Us Part 1. So if you haven't played the game yet or experienced that story, definitely click away from this video. But if you have and you're interested in my thoughts and what I think Part 2 is going to be doing, stick around. I don't know what I can say about The Last of Us Part 1 that hasn't already been said. The game has been critically acclaimed and is still receiving praise for its brevity in storytelling, its innovation in gameplay, and its inspirational and telling impact on the genre of narrative video games. I'm not even really qualified to talk about video games. I'm a washed up pop punk musician who makes tribute videos on YouTube and who makes mediocre covers for fun, and I really just play video games in my spare time when I'm not working. But we are literally 2 days away from The Last of Us Part 2. And I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't take the time to talk about what this franchise means to me, its broader themes and implications, and my excitement and predictions for Part 2. In overviewing how this game has impacted me, I want to address the fact that this is not a new video game. June 2013, the original release date for the game, was 7 years ago. How much has happened in 7 years? I know I can't speak for everyone, but 7 years ago, I was a completely different person. I was still in college, living with my parents, had no idea what I was doing with my life, and sleeping with a nightlight. And while the latter of those four is still true, my personal progression in that amount of time still shocks me. Culturally, our world has changed. From a Donald Trump presidency to a global pandemic to the influential deaths of Epstein, Kobe Bryant, and Tom Petty, it's safe to say that all of us are in a different place than we were in 2013. But even with all that change, the gameplay of this franchise, in my opinion, is still just as fun today as it was 7 years ago. Now, I've seen a number of reviews raise criticism about the AI and how stealth isn't always immersive because pesky Ellie and Bill decided to run through clickers all Casper the Ghost style, and while I can agree with those assessments, I can't deny that playing Part 1 is still just as fun as it used to be. There's no feeling like getting spotted, cleverly using cover to reestablish stealth, and throwing a smoke bomb at some cannibalistic Goonie Goons to gain the upper hand. Human shields, Molotovs, bombs, and melee combat all offer a breadth of ways to take down the enemy, and in a world where it's kill or be killed, all of these options make each encounter a unique and fresh experience, especially towards the middle of Joel and Ellie's story. And speaking of Joel and Ellie and the narrative arc of The Last of Us, I can't personally think of any other story with as much inherent meaning to me in the world of gaming. There's a lot here to address, but I want to hone in on one thing in particular: how these characters feel legitimate, each one a real person with history, unique traits, and inherent morality. And these things aren't always shoved down the player's throat. In fact, the primary way you learn about each character is understated and embedded within the context of the game's beautifully scripted and expertly acted dialogue. For example, you know David is a monster that eats people and who rapes and assaults women, but the game never explicitly says that. The characters do, and Naughty Dog trusts you to put those pieces together as a player. I'll read a few quotes for you to make my point here.
How'd you put it? Tiny pieces? See you in the morning, Ellie.
She's alive! She's David's newest pet!
You don't know what I'm capable of.
Okay, my bad voice acting aside, I think you get the idea. And sure, David is like the closest thing to a main baddie that this game has, but no one who survived the past 20 years in this post-apocalyptic world is a hero. Joel's been on both sides. Tess kills Robert with little regard for his life over the property she's owed. Tommy abandoned the cause supported by the Fireflies. Hell, even the Fireflies are pretty shitty when you look at how they treated Joel after he traveled across the country to give them Ellie, the only known scientific case for curing mankind in the cordyceps infection. This ambiguity, narratively and in regard to each character's arc, is so refreshing and makes each character feel like a real person. There are no tropes here, just real people doing what it takes to survive. And these actions all make sense in the context of this world. 20 years have passed since the fall of modern society, and significant thought has gone into the environments in this world. While there are some instances where it's a little weird, like grass growing on the second floor of a hotel room without dirt being there, I still feel like even 7 years later, these environments make their intention clear, that we are in a world that has been consumed by nature, that chaos is the natural order of this new society, and that human beings, like the messy and ruined environments of this world, are broken, scattered, and lost to that which they can't control. Being able to experience the aftermath of this pandemic through the eyes of Joel and Ellie, however, is what elevates this game to its zenith, and is a testament to the unique power of gaming as a medium through which effective and impactful storytelling can occur. And so many of the moments in this game fuel what the gaming community will forever remember as a triumph in narrative. The use of the giraffe scene to highlight the power of healing through trauma and hardship, the telling and simultaneously confounding nature of Joel's lie, and the emphasis on his and Ellie's relationship. She brings him back from a past that haunts him, and while that ultimately leads Joel to murder relentlessly, I also don't know if I can blame him for that. And the fact that still, 7 years later, I grapple with the ending and implications of this game philosophically is proof that it is timeless. It can stand on its own without a sequel, but you better believe that even though that is the case, I'm excited as hell for Part 2. And at this point, we're about 2 days from the release of Part 2, and while we know much of the general structure of its story, there are a lot of things we don't know. Personally, I haven't seen leaks, and I've only watched a handful of spoiler-free reviews for the game. What I do know is that I'm probably going to be uncomfortable. Ellie is on a journey for revenge, and I have a feeling that's going to cause her to push away a lot of important people. Relationships that we're likely going to see her establish and elaborate on while in Jackson. Her and Joel's relationship is probably going to be strained already because of the lie, but my prediction is that it's only going to get harder for both of them to reconcile their differences when she's in the middle of that journey seeking retribution for what happened in Jackson. And you can already kind of tell that like she's parting ways with a lot of these characters that are newer. And I'm not sure what goes down with a lot of them specifically, but I think that this is going to be a journey that isolates her. I also think that we're going to see a flip side of this with the mystery woman character and really see through that character's eyes how these factions have developed and sort of the other side of this struggle. I think you're going to get a more holistic look at how the WLF, how the Seraphites, and how Ellie fits into this whole picture, and how even though it seems like she's seeking revenge and getting retribution, how there's another side of the coin to that, and how we might not necessarily be on Ellie's side because we're seeing a more humanistic look at these factions through the eyes of the mystery woman character. But that's just my thoughts, and I know that's kind of vague, but we also don't know a lot. Alright, I know all of this is totally random. I mean, I'm a guy that makes music on YouTube, and why am I reviewing a video game? But I'm excited, and I wanted to share my thoughts and predictions with everyone, especially the community surrounding this game, because everyone in this community is awesome, and they're all really thoughtful, cool humans, and I thought it'd be sweet to add my voice to that conversation. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you did, consider listening to some of my covers, please. I'll be your friend. Anyways, until next week, be safe out there, and let's have a kick-ass weekend playing The Last of Us Part 2.